As earlier predicted, we're all seeing what is unfolding in the country in relation to the 26th October date. Okay, the date which all Kenyans were supposed to have with the rerun of the presidential election. Okay, as I make this recording, NASA presidential candidate Raila Odinga has jetted out of the country. Is currently in the UK. This is happening barely 2 weeks to the elections. Okay. Now, what is even more worrying is that some people on the NASA pages on Facebook, yeah, some people who normally give credible information, are saying that he has gone for a 4-week tour. 4 weeks. 4 weeks will be beyond the date of 26th. Okay, but those of course are unconfirmed. We cannot pin down NASA on a statement some radical NASA supporter has made. Yeah, so let's put that on aside and let's focus on dealing with the question: what happens after the 26th? Okay, whatever happens, what happens after the 26th? Because that is what everybody's worried about. Businesses are on a standstill. Yeah. People are finding it increasingly difficult to put food on the table. Yeah, an increasing number of businesses are being auctioned. Yeah, increasing number of Kenyans having to go through the very, very sad situation where your assets are being auctioned to recover bank loan here and there. Okay, and all this can be attributed to the standoff or the crisis facing Kenya right now. Because if you're taking a loan from a bank and that loan depends on you making monthly payments, and people have not really been working since August, yeah, since mid-August people have not really been working, yeah, you naturally know what to expect. Yes, in any case, businesses have reported that they are really bleeding badly. Yeah, no profits, no customers. Yeah, it's just a mess. Okay, so in this recording I will try and do what I do best. Yeah, not according to me, but according to my track record and according to those who take in this channel. I'll try my best to look into the future and see what is in store for Kenyans. Okay, now let us start by looking at the different possible scenarios for the 26th. Okay, of course, let's start with the ideal scenario. The ideal scenario is that somehow the last minute, due to international pressure, due to people loving their country more than they love themselves, the two protagonists are forced to the negotiation table, and actually the election is held on the 26th. Okay, now even if this election takes place, there will be the big issue of how credible will those elections be, because from where I sit and from the inside information I've had is that one side of the political divide has been very busy, yeah, making arrangements to do season 2 of August 8th. Yeah, I've been getting persistent reports of various things being done all over the country, yeah, to ensure that whatever happens, yeah, President Uhuru does not lose the election. Now, those of us who can bother to do a little research will very quickly find out one truth, yeah, and that truth is Jubilee does not have the numbers to win any election in Kenya at the moment, any presidential election. Yeah, that should be rather obvious. It is obvious in the way Jubilee has been behaving since the annulled elections. Yeah, they've gone into a panic mode of changing the laws to suit themselves. Yes, it's like you have a football match, and then at halftime, one side starts changing the rules. Yes, they notice that in the first half, they were defeated because there's a certain very dangerous defender on the left side, playing on the left side. Yeah, so they create a new rule. Yes, and the ref is just listening to one side. Yeah, they create a rule that there's no running along the left flank. Yeah, if you run along the left flank of the field when you're attacking, it's a foul. Anyway, if you step back and just look at the whole Jubilee strategy, it should be able to tell you very well that these are people who do not have the numbers to win any election in Kenya. And that's the truth. It's not being biased. It's not supporting one side. They just don't have the numbers. Okay? Now we'll take a short break. When we come back, we'll continue with this very, very riveting topic. Yeah, I'll be back in a moment. Welcome back. Now the same Jubilee side has also sent a lot of signals to us. Yes, for example, the story about a benevolent dictator. Okay, already we know Kenya is a dictatorship, but Jubilee for the first time through a very senior advisor and vice chair of the party, Bwana David Murathe, have come out and says what Kenya needs now is a benevolent dictator. Yes, and they've said this very clearly during the day. Okay. So already that shows you the direction which Jubilee wants to go, okay? And I've said here repeatedly that the people who do not want the election on the 26th are not NASA, but actually it's Jubilee, yes? Because if you look at all the actions were designed to cause a gridlock, yeah? To cause a situation whereby there would be no understanding with NASA, and that understanding, of course, was needed for us to go back to the presidential polls. Especially after Jubilee were caught with their hands in the cookie jar. You know, when the Supreme Court nullified the election of President Uhuru, yeah? And revealed massive irregularities, okay? So, even if we go into an election on 26th, there are still so many question marks, yeah? So let's look at the second scenario. The second possibility is that NASA will boycott going to the polls. Okay, they'll tell their supporters stay away from polling stations, do not vote, etc., etc. Now in this, it's very predictable what Jubilee are going to do in retaliation to this. What they are going to do, they're going to try and do their best using state resources, etc., etc. They're going to try and do their best to make sure that the election goes on as normally as possible, even without NASA supporters. Okay. Now I can hear some of you saying, how can there be an election and with only one candidate? Okay, so let me address that. Now, if you have heard, there's no time where NASA said or Raila said that they're withdrawing from the elections. Have you heard anything like that? They have not said anything like that. Okay, that's number one. Number two, technically, at this stage, at this late stage in time, it is not possible for Raila to withdraw from the elections. Okay, it's not possible for him to withdraw from the ballot. What do I mean? We're in the very late stages of ballot papers being printed, returning officers have been trained, etc., etc. Okay, so according to the rules of the game and according to the constitution, it is not possible for a presidential candidate to withdraw this late in the game. And even if they withdraw, they're still on the ballot. Okay, so what will happen is that if NASA boycotts the election and Jubilee decides to go ahead and have an election, what will happen is that they'll actually be voting. And believe it or not, Raila Odinga will still get votes. Okay, even with a massive NASA withdrawal from the elections. So what does that mean? It means that Raila Odinga will have very few votes. Okay, and what will happen is that Jubilee will legitimize that election. They'll say this is the election. Legally there was an election, yeah, because Jubilee, when it suits them, stick very strictly to the law. Now, strictly speaking, that will be an election in which the winner will of course be Uhuru. However, the reality is that there'll have been no election, okay, because Raila Odinga commands huge support right across the country. Okay, it will mean that there'll have been absolutely no election. Okay, the direct consequence is that even if they go ahead and swear in Uhuru, the country will be very difficult to govern. Okay, it will actually be close to ungovernable. Okay, why? I mean, it should be obvious. With NASA people out of the game, yes, Most probably NASA will continue the demonstrations, of course, yeah, saying that actually there was no election, okay. Jubilee, of course, will keep on pushing the rhetoric that there was actually an election, yeah. The sum total of all this is that things will not return to normal, okay. And the big priority right now for many Kenyans is that they'd like things at least to return to some semblance of normalcy, okay, so that they can get on with their lives. That is the truth. That's what the majority of the Kenyans want, okay. However, many other Kenyans also want a change in the country. They're just sick and tired, and they're desperate for change, and they're ready to sacrifice hardships and life not going back to normalcy, yeah, for the sake of us having a permanent change in the country. Now the big question is, which group is more? The group which would want people to go back to normal, or the group which would want to sacrifice and do anything possible to make sure there's permanent change in Kenya? Now, in my view, the group of the people who want permanent change in Kenya and are ready to sacrifice everything is much larger. And that is where our problem is. Actually, some people would look at it as not a problem. Yeah, me being one of them. Yeah, it is not a problem. What is actually happening is that we're witnessing the birth pangs of a new Kenya, a new political dispensation, okay? Now, I don't know if any of you have been able to witness the birth pangs of a woman, yeah? Actually, I was very fortunate because I saw my daughter actually being born. I was there in the room, yeah? Now, what normally happens is there's a lot of blood all over the place, there's a lot of pain, there's a lot of, you know, sometimes even the mother wants to give up, you know? Then finally, the baby comes out, and suddenly everything just changes. Yeah, there's joy, all the struggle is forgotten, all the pain is forgotten, and everybody is so happy that the new child has been born. There's so much joy which overshadows all the hardships which came before. Now that is exactly where the nation of Kenya is. Okay, and that's exactly what I'm talking about here. Okay, these are the birth pangs of a new Kenya. Now, I am in a way, I fear. Yeah, and let me just explain. The reason why I fear is that I'm convinced beyond any doubt that God is involved in bringing this change in Kenya. Okay? And I'm convinced beyond any doubt, yeah, that what is going to happen in Kenya, I mean, when God is involved in a change, what happens is that God's change is very thorough. Okay? It is not cosmetic. Okay, so it involves destroying what was there previously to start a new thing. Okay, and that is where my fear is, because that's how God works. Okay, so what I'd like to urge Kenyans is brace yourselves. Brace yourselves. The ride is going to get very rough going forward. I don't want to scare anybody. I just want to prepare you. I'm not God. I don't know. I was not in a meeting with God this morning. I don't know what He's planning. I don't know what the Almighty is planning. I'm just trying to read the signs of the times, yeah, and that is what I read. I could be wrong, of course, I'm human, yeah, but those are the signs I read. Okay, now we'll go into another episode of this recording where I will reveal the new Jubilee strategy, which I unearthed just a few hours ago, yeah, and the new Jubilee strategy is very interesting, yeah, because it seems to point towards something which Kenya has been on Kenyans' mouths a lot in recent times, something called secession. Okay, that is where the strategy seems to be pointed. Actually, the strategy is anti-secession. Okay, so don't miss that. Yeah, just you know what to do. As soon as that recording is ready, just be patient. As soon as it's ready, you'll see it as a link on the top left-hand screen. Yeah, top left-hand side of your screen. But meanwhile, you can chew on what we have said in this recording. Yeah, and as soon as that recording is ready, you'll be able to go to it. Of course, all this will be much easier if you subscribe to this channel, and then you also now I'm sure most of you already know this. When you subscribe and you press on the bell, it means that whenever I release a video, you'll know immediately, instantly you'll know. Yeah, so that's what I'd advise you to do. If you've already subscribed, press on the bell. If you haven't subscribed, subscribe now and press on the bell, and you'll get notification immediately. Yeah, I think this is going to be a useful service for you, because going forward I predict a lot of confusing things will happen, and I think it will be useful for us to stay in touch, for you to know each and every recording I make. Until the next episode, this is Chris Kumekucha.